Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Blu-ray release of Spearhead from Space, episodes 1 and 2. Now, I've seen Spearhead from Space multiple times, but this is the first time I've ever seen the Blu-ray release, which is a big deal, especially for this story, since it is the only classic Doctor Who story that was shot entirely on film, and thus the only story in classic Doctor Who that can be converted into true high definition. I believe that it was a 2K scan they did on this from the original 16mm film, because Spearhead from Space was shot on 16mm film, the whole thing. Whereas most of Doctor Who was shot on videotape or a combination of videotape and film and edited on videotape. Thus, film being a high definition medium, it can actually be brought into full high definition, whereas videotape is a standard definition medium. That's why most of the episodes in the classic range, in the collection range, while they look great on Blu-ray, better than they ever have, they're still mostly upscales. Whereas Spearhead on Blu-ray is it's a brand new scan of the original negatives. And it looks fantastic. It is true high definition. It looks better than some of the early seasons of Modern Who, which was also filmed in standard definition. It really looks good. It's never looked better. I love how the characters move. It's almost like you're standing next to them instead of just looking at them on the screen. When characters are moving around, it looks so good, so fluid. The color textures, the grain on the face. Like, you can see the wrinkles, every little speck on the clothes. Everything looks so good, you just feel like you could step through the TV and be there. It is astounding to me how good this looks for something made in 1970, or probably actually shot in 1969, considering it aired in January 1970. And it looks like a 1960s Bond movie. It does feel like you're watching a movie from the 1960s. Like you expect Sean Connery to run around the corner. It looks like that. It has this very 60s James Bond feel to it, especially with Pertwee's Doctor being the kind of James Bond Doctor. So that's what it looks like. It's like, hey, I'm watching Doctor No. Oh, wait, it's Doctor Who. It kind of has that feel to it, and I like it. The incidental music fits with that as well. So I absolutely love the way everything looks. You don't, like, if you were to watch this Blu-ray, you wouldn't think much of it. But I think if you were to watch this Blu-ray of Spearhead from Space and then go straight into Silurians with we all know the rough shape Silurians is in. It's going to need a lot of work for its collection set release. So imagine watching this and going straight into Silurians if you were a reacting to Classic Who for the first time. Big jump in how things look. Big jump. And even the original negatives of the Pertwee era, the ones where the original masters survive, I should say, tend to not look as good as this. Go watch, Death to the Daleks or or all of Day of the Daleks. They still don't quite look as good as what this does. So that's another reason this stands out, that it looks so good, is because so much, it looks good even compared to the Pertwee stories that are the original masters, but since so much of Pertwee's era, the stories survive not from their original masters, but from heavy restoration work. It's even more apparent just how good Spearhead from Space looks compared to those. You look at Spearhead from Space and you look at the Time Monster, and the season 9 release of Time Monster looks amazing considering, but still not what this looks like. This looks fantastic. So great job on the restoration work for this Blu-ray. It looks phenomenal. The story itself, I've always liked Spearhead from Space. It's a great story. It's a great way to introduce so many firsts that Doctor Who does. The show changed up its formula completely, starting with this story. The Earthbound things with Unit, the Doctor being exiled, a brand new Doctor, a brand new companion, and then, of course, the first story being in color. You have all of that going on, brand new intro, all of that going on with this story. And the Doctor is sidelined just for a little bit in the first episode, but he's up and moving, I'd say halfway through episode 2 at least. He's up and moving. So he's not sidelined overly long. And we do have the Brigadier there, who we have met in a couple other stories, so there is someone kind of familiar there to ease people into it. And I'm enjoying Nicholas Courtney here. I like his serious performance here, a lot like his, a lot of times when he was with Troughton. I never liked how in some of the stories, like The Three Doctors, when he's played a little more campy. Now, I don't think that's necessarily Nicholas. I think that's just how they wrote him. But I love the way he's being played here. Very serious, very in charge, very in command, and trying to get answers. Excuse me. I really like Carolyn John as Liz. I really like Liz. I feel like Liz doesn't get enough attention because she's only in one season. And this is, while Inferno is my favorite story of the season, Spearhead is my favorite story with how it handles Liz. Liz, because I do think she does start to slide more into that there to, you know, for the Doctor to explain things to, you know, about like what the Brigadier accuses the Doctor of in Terror of the Autons. When he's like, she said you're just there to make you look clever and hand you stuff. That's kind of what she gets reduced to by the end of it, honestly. But here, I like the fact she is a brain. She's working. She's doing things. I love how snarky she is. I love that. She thinks the whole alien thing is so silly. She's not buying it because, you know, she's an educated mind. So to her, stuff like little green men is just silly. I love just how well Carolyn John plays that snark and how she just keeps it going with the Brigadier. And I love that he just takes it all in stride, too. I love the scene when he's like, am I interrupting anything? She's just like, yes. Because he says it cordially, kind of like it's kind of like his way of saying, oh, hey, or hello. It's just a cordial greeting. He just happens to phrase it as, am I interrupting anything? And she doesn't even miss a beat. She's just a yes. Doesn't even look at him. She's working, yes. I love that. I absolutely love that. And then when the general gets there and he's asking about the police box, and she's like, oh, it's not really a police box. It's a spaceship. The snark. I love that. And then when the Brigadier is about to open the door, she's like, oh, you better go ahead and try it. There might be a policeman trapped in there. I love Liz. I do love. I wish she'd always been written like that. Because as much as I love her as a character, I feel like she became a little more two-dimensional after this story. They didn't give her enough to do, in my opinion. I think it's why I find the alternate Liz in Inferno more interesting, just like Carolyn John did, because she just seems to have more character development, honestly. And we get to see her grow in the course of that story. But I enjoy the snark here. I just love it. I love how I don't think sassy is the right word, but I just love the fact that she finds a lot of it silly. I do enjoy, I like a lot of the cast in this. Like, everyone seems cast well. Nobody, even like just the reporters, nobody seems like they're phoning it in. Everyone seems like, no one feels like a character that's spouting lines. They all feel like real people, real characters. They don't feel like an actor saying lines. They feel like a character. Every little nuance, the old man, oh, he's not an old man, but the hunter who finds the pod and steals it while he's out poaching, the actor playing him sells it. The doctor who's taking care of the doctor, the guy with the glasses, he sells it. He strikes me as a good doctor who's caring for his patient. The Auton that looks very convincing, the one that's there disguised as the reporter, God, that actor does such a good job. He sells it. Like, every now and then you'll see him maybe blink or squint his eyes, but most of the time he does have that kind of wide-eyed stare that looks unnatural. There's just something about him that looks creepy and unnatural and unnerving and off in a lot of the shots you see of him. That's just a really good job on the actor's part. The guy who's kind of under their control with the thing on his ear, the guy with the glasses in the factory, he's doing a good job. The scene when the other guy, Ransom or whatever his name is, the guy who invented the doll, is trying to get answers, and the guy with the glasses, bless him, he tries to warn him to get out, because he actually calls him by his first name, John. He's like, you shouldn't be here, John. You need to go. I forget exactly what he says, but you can tell he tries to warn the guy. He tries to tell him to get out of there, that it's safer for him just to leave and drop it. I'm always going to have props for that. I like the fact that the guy with the glass, he tried. And then, of course, the thing started, controlling him, and he couldn't do anything. And then when the Auton guy walked in, he called him by his last name, like Mr. Ransom. Da, da, da. So the fact that he used his first name with him, it explained to me that even though they had a business arrangement, I'm getting the impression they probably got on really well, because the other guy even, said, you helped me finish the prototype. So you get the impression they probably got on well. And that's probably, it's just more apparent to me on this watch through when he actually calls him John at the beginning, using his first name. And he's obviously trying to warn him to get out of there. It's those little touches like that I like. And Bob Holmes does dialogue like nobody's business. I mean, most of you guys who are watching this, you're probably fans of Classic Who. Robert Holmes can write some amazing dialogue. It's just one of the things he's known for. It's very apparent in this story. I like how this story's not very effects heavy, which I like. Like, you never need an updated effects version of this story, really. There's very little things that look kind of naff. Maybe the tentacles at the end, but we'll get to that when we're reviewing the last half of the story. But everything stands up here pretty well. You have the little nesting control things, which seem easy to do. It's not very effects heavy, and I like that. And that works with the location setting. That's another thing I like with this being shot entirely on film and basically entirely location, close to it, is that you never run into any of the sets that look like sets, really. Maybe Liz's laboratory a little, but for the most part, because that happens in Classic Who, sometimes they're on sets that are very obviously sets. It just is what it is. I like the fact that as a consequence of this being mostly a location shoot, everything looks real because everything was real. There's no assembled sets. Everything is, shot in what looks like a place. I like that. I like just how real everything looks in this story. The cliffhangers are a little odd. The cliffhanger for part 1 and part 2, they both feel a little too abrupt and like they end a little too quickly. Like they needed a few more seconds. I found both of them jarring on this watch through. Like when at the end of episode 1, you just kind of start to see Pertwee come through the brush, they fire, and you just see him. It seems like it needed to be a few seconds more. The same thing with part 2 when the guy who invented the doll, Ransom or whatever his name is, standing there, the Auton's moving toward him. He turns around and sees it, and it's just slowly moving, and it cuts to him like utterly terrified, not shocked, not curious, but it feels off to go from, hey, it's moving a little, there seems like there should be a few more seconds of something before it cut off. They both felt very abrupt and a little out of place. I did notice that. Pertwee's great. I love the fact that already, in the short time he's been up and about, Pertwee is already establishing that his doctor is very different from Troughton's doctor. He acts different, he moves differently. I cannot stop coughing today. And he speaks very differently. He's a lot more authoritative, and he's a lot more direct. Whereas Troughton has a more playful manner, whereas John has a much more direct, blunt manner. Like when he tells the guy, I bet you're looking for my pass. Well, I haven't got one. Well, you better ring him up. Well, go on, man. And then him meeting the brigadier, and it's like, how do I know you're the same man? You don't. You don't. Only I know that. I do like that line a lot. The bit with the face when he's doing that is a little weird. That is a little weird, but we'll let that slide. I do like the fact, though, him and Liz seem to get on pretty well, actually. Him and Liz seem to click pretty well. Because he realizes she's a fellow scientist. She realizes he's a fellow scientist just from the way he's examining the stuff. It's like, do I really have to call you Miss Shaw? Liz, yeah, I do like that. So the first 2 episodes, of course, are really good. It's a phenomenal story. I've seen it multiple times. But just, again, we're reviewing the first 2 episodes here. The story itself, I like. It's a great way to introduce this new era of the show. And really, most of what you get out of the Pertwee era, you can get a lot of right here. I mean, of course, we don't have the Master yet, but a lot of the main things the Pertwee era is known for, you get right here in this story. So it does a really good job of saying, hey, this is what this era of the show is going to be like now. So that's really nice too for someone, again, maybe they're doing YouTube reactions for the first time. When you watch Spearhead from space, you pretty much know what you're getting into, and I like that. And as I said, the Blu-ray looks absolutely gorgeous, especially compared to a lot of the rest of the Pertwee era. So, Spearhead from Space, parts 1 and 2, what do you think of it? And the Blu-ray release compared to previous releases, what do you think of it? Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. That helps me out, and I certainly appreciate it. Okay, still out of my lap. I want to give a shout out to Ian. It was actually Ian who sent this. I wasn't sure when I had unboxed it, but Ian did let me know he had sent that to me. He also sent me Scream of the Shulker recently, which I've also watched and reviewed. So I do want to give Ian a shout out and let him know I very much appreciate it. This had been something I wanted for a while because I'd never seen the Blu-ray release of it before. So I definitely appreciate it. I also have a Patreon if you would like to contribute to that. There is a link down there. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. My entry level tier is only $2 a month. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review, Doctor Who related or otherwise. It is a sci-fi channel after all. Someone recently sent me Red Dwarf, so after I start and finish Blake 7, we'll be moving on to Red Dwarf, I think. And then a link to my Amazon wish list is up there as well, which is actually, this was on the wish list. And then I have added a few things on there recently. Some of the stories I've only seen once and not in a long time. Silver Nemesis, Greatest Show in the Galaxy, stuff like that. If you want to check that out. Most importantly, thank you for watching.